Recently I found this video that you're seeing on your screen, and this is from the Infinity Ward offices around 12-13 years ago, I believe. Now this was the time when one of the best games, first-person shooters ever, was being made, and that is Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. Now if you play this game as I did when I was a teenager, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Super fun, great career mode, multiplayer, every weapon was overpowered and the experience was just great. No microtransactions, no bullshit you see nowadays, just pure fun. But I'm not here to talk about this game and to relive my teenage years and childhood, none of that. Because I want you to look at this video again and tell me, what do you see? Just a bunch of dudes working in an office, dark rooms and bright screens, just a bunch of nerds doing nerd stuff? Perhaps. But what you also see, above all of that, is something that nowadays, not only in video games, but movies, TV shows, everything I do believe we're missing. And that is passion. Because what happened back then, and what you'd see about a lot of the games, even the ones that are now the AAA and the ones that have thousands of people working on it, is that these teams were small, just a bunch of dudes that like what they're doing the things that they like, that they're passionate about, and you would see that in the final result. Because I'm not saying we don't have good things nowadays, movies, TV shows, video games, we have, of course we have, but it's more rare. And the ones we do have, and you notice this with everything, it's almost like, finally, at last, something good. I'm tired of all the slop, all the things that I can see are just made to make money, and we can recognize when it's good. There's plenty of examples nowadays, but if I go back, there were many more for everything. Something that is being lost and why all of us are becoming less capable of creating and delivering great work. Now there are many examples I could use for this in many mediums, but the one I'm going to choose is one very close to my heart, and that is the Skate franchise. Now you see, when this came out, and I'm going to put the year on the screen because I don't remember, but when it came out, I remember seeing the first trailer and being absolutely amazed, to the point where I couldn't believe it was true. I thought it was one of those fake videos they would make, like, yeah sure, these are how the controls are going to work, it's going to be super cool. And I remember every day, and back then things weren't as good, but I remember going every day on YouTube seeing when is there going to be gameplay? When am I going to be able to play this? And then some gameplay came out, looked awesome. And then I believe a demo came out, probably even one of those you'd buy a CD at a store and play, or maybe in the PlayStation store, I don't remember, but a demo came out. And I believe you could play either the first level only or the first map, or like for 30 minutes and then it would reset. And I played that infinite amount of times, as much as I can remember. I would be just doing tricks, just as I would skateboard back then. You know, I would spend a lot of my days just skateboarding, and then I'd go home and play this game. Now, just the gameplay itself was phenomenal, like nothing we had ever seen before at the time. And then when the full game came out, not only was the gameplay great and the maps fantastic, but the whole culture, the skateboarding culture, which is gritty, there's this punk rock aspect to it, this rebelling against the system aspect to it, you could see it there. And it was a perfect representation of it. Now when the sequel came out, similar to the Terminator, it was even better than the original. The maps were better, there were more customization, the story was better, the gameplay was better. Absolutely fantastic. And then there was the third one, which was also great, not my favorite, but a lot of people it is their favorite, but still a great game. And now fast forward this many years to the future, and what you see is an absolutely sad excuse of a game in a free-to-play model with a ton of microtransactions before the game was even complete, but the store was complete, where you can buy items in the store of a video game that is not complete, that doesn't even look that good, almost the same price as this would cost in real life, like a plain t-shirt or some unbranded shoes. Absolutely insane. And what they're doing and what they did is that they were cashing in or cashing out, however you say, on the goodwill of the past. Of these three games, what they did, and people like me that experienced and absolutely loved and put so many hours into it because you really enjoyed it and it was really good work. And then the new one comes out and they're like, oh, those people played so much, you know, we're gonna be able to cash out just on that. And then what you see in this example is that, to be fair, the gameplay is very smooth. And as far as those mechanics, great. But everything else is not. The map, quite boring. Store microtransactions, do I need to say any more about that? no customization whatsoever, no career mode, missions boring, it's always the same thing, it's just an incomplete game, it's a sad excuse of it. Because, and this is what I'm trying to get at with this video, one major thing is missing, because perhaps they even have more money now. With EA, a lot of these games you see, it's from big companies with a lot of money, with big teams, with all of these fancy things and the fancy trailers and whatnot, but they're missing the main thing. And the main thing is passion. Because when you do have passion, especially when you have a group of people passionate about what they're doing, that they're willing to risk it, to do something different, something that they don't know if it's going to be well received, they don't know if it's going to be like the things that are popular nowadays, and then they put it forth, because with passion, with honing in on the details, being perfectionist about it, trying everything themselves, enjoying what they're doing themselves, playing the games, watching the movies, the TV shows, actually enjoying it themselves, what you see is phenomenal work. And I'm going to be playing on the screen things that I believe is phenomenal work, and you see amongst all of these, no matter the medium, no matter the format, you see there's something completely different to it. And the thing with when we're talking about passion is that it is impossible to say when does it become passionate and not in the final result. Like, okay, so if I go to the game I'm talking about, okay, what if I take the customization? Is it still the same great game? I don't know. If I take, how many pieces of customization can I take? If the map changes a little bit, how much of it can I change and remove and add that it changes? And the thing is that it is impossible, because when we're trying to analyze this and trying to be very logical and trying to, optimize in this way, to go step by step so I can create something like that too, we have to realize that you cannot do it this way. It's not something that you can intellectualize first and then put forth and create. It is, you allow the passion, and as you see these people that allow the passion to, in a lot of ways, consume them a little bit, and what comes from it is what you see. Because when it's not there, and when, again, we start from the basis of not passionate, not I care about this, but I want money, I want fame, I want recognition, whatever, I want to, because, in these situations, it's like the shareholders want profit. Then the managers of the artists and the people creating want the deadlines to be met. And then the people working are stressed and overworked and they just want to do their work, and, it's too much. And then what we end up with, and it's hard to, who do we blame here, but what we end up with is something underwhelming that never lives up to the expectations. That you see a lot of people online, and then you'll see this saying like, oh, but maybe it's just a teaser and there's this whole conspiracy because now the good thing is going to come out, and they're just like, to build it up, and it seems very logical. It seems like, oh my God, that would be great, but then it's never done. And one of the reasons to why it's never done, and here what I think the average person can have an advantage, or a small team or whatever it may be, is that it usually starts, any of these games, movies, whatever, usually it starts small. Usually sometimes it's even something that people don't even give anything for it. Like an example that I think right away, it's Shrek. Shrek initially, they didn't think that was gonna hit at all. There's even, I don't know if it's a rumor or whatever, but that they would put the animators and whatnot, people that were not doing that so well, into that movie as like a, just get this done. Then what happens, usually with these things, maybe not exactly Shrek, but what happens is that a big risk is taken. It's something that's not conventional, that they don't even know if it's gonna be a hit. It is a hit. And because it is a hit, now you have a lot of eyeballs on it, there's a lot of money, there's a lot of resources with it. And sometimes, some of them, they can make a second one that is perhaps as good or even better. And usually this comes because the same team is still working on it. It's almost like the higher-ups haven't caught up to how good this was. But keep going long enough. Allow it to continue long enough, and what will happen is that it gets too big for its own good. Because then now there's a lot of things associated with it. There's a lot of things you can lose if you make a bad one. There's a lot of, the risk associated with it becomes bigger because there's more to lose. And when this becomes the case, people become more safe about it. And when you become more safe about it, usually you create something worse. Because now you're not creating out of passion, out of love, you're just creating because you feel obliged to create. You feel like you have to put this forth and you don't want to mess it up, and so just let's try to do something that seems like the others, but it's not really trying to innovate. There you go, that's it. And it's never as good. And this is where I believe the normal person's advantage is at. Because I'm not saying here that, everyone has to go ahead and create a passion project, or that you have to take huge risks to do something that you're passionate about. Especially if you have a life that's normal and you have responsibilities, you have rent to pay, you have food, perhaps you have kids, you have all these things. it is normal that you wouldn't want to risk all of these things for something that's a passion project. And if you're comfortable with that, fair enough. Of course, don't go do something stupid just because you heard online someone telling you. But for everyone else, that whether you have these responsibilities or not, and you feel that something inside you just tells you that you have to do it, for how illogical it may seem, for how, oh, this may go bad, it may seem, there's a part of you that has a desperate desire to create this and put it forth, regardless of how ridiculed you may be, of how wrong it may be, or of how no one may care about it may be. There's a feeling there that you have to do this. If that is you, then you are almost, I would say, obliged to do it. Not only for yourself and what you already know that you'll regret it and blah, blah, all these things. We know that if you don't do it, you regret it. But for everyone around you, everyone that potentially will interact with this. Just think of everything in your life that it positively impacted you. All the movies you watch, the TV shows, the food you had, the video games you played, all of it, whatever experience comes to mind when it's like, this left a mark on me and I became a better person because of it. Especially things that, you consumed entertainment, things like that. Someone had to take a risk at some point. Even one of the biggest examples, I think it's the most best sold game of all time. I think it's Minecraft. Minecraft was one dude that was making a game for his daughter, I believe, Notch, yeah, for his daughter. And he was like, I'll just make it and then I'll share with other people. And then, obviously luck plays a part in it, for it to be successful and for you to be rich of it and famous and all that. But none of these creations, or most of them, were not born out of that desire. They were not born of a desire for more and for wealth and for fame. And they were made out of the desire of passion to do something good and to bring this essentially love for the craft into reality. That's how everything, for the most part, that is very good and very appreciated and that you enjoy if you think about it, was born. And so what I would say here is that, first of all, you are doing a disservice to you and everyone else if you don't follow through on it, if you feel that you have to follow through on it. And then the second part of it, perhaps the more complicated, which is, how do I choose? What do I create? I'm passionate about some things, but how do I go from being sort of passionate to then creating and to taking this risk? How do I even find that idea? How do I even choose that idea? Because the problem is no one cares yet, or no one is watching, consuming, interacting with something you create, because you haven't created, is there's infinite paths. You can go here, video game, everything. But then again, it's like, how do I choose? Because when no one is keeping you accountable, there's no deadlines, there's no nothing, you can start in a path and just give up, go to another, no one cares. Because again, there's no one to care. And here's perhaps the underwhelming part of this video, and that is that no one can tell you this. I know a lot of times we watch these videos and these things and we hope for that me or whoever is creating the video is gonna give you some steps, some guidelines, some blueprint. You follow these 10 steps and you're on your way to create your thing. Of course, I can tell you a few basic things that everyone knows, that choose something, commit to it, see where it takes you. Of course, but we all know that. At the end of the day, it is not, and it can never be a decision like this, structured, planned, like as if you have a map to go there, because a lot of times where you're going doesn't exist yet. You will have to pave that way. But just as when you're in front of, let's say, a big jungle or a big forest that there's no path defined, what one must realize is that if I feel somehow that this is the general direction that I have to go into this forest ahead of me that I don't even know the path that exists, you will just have to go and create the path as you go along, because that is the beauty of the experience. You think when people are creating Minecraft or writing Lord of the Rings or whichever thing you like, you think they had it all figured out in the beginning. You think it was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do, and they just sat down and did it. Of course not. They started doing, and then they see how things go, they talk with others, they edit, adapt, improve, and you just pave the way. And of course, then when you look back, there's a path there, and someone can look at it and be like, oh, there was the path. It seems easy to follow it. And it is easy to follow, but someone had to pave it. And if someone comes along and follows it, it's never going to be the same. Then you're just a copy of the guy that paved the way. And so I know it's underwhelming what I'm saying here, because it's not what you perhaps want or what most people want, but I think it's what we have to recognize, is that we do our jobs, we do these things, we make money, we survive. But we all have, in my opinion, this desire to go further. And I'm not saying money, I'm not saying what the world gives us, but what we give to the world, what we create, what we share. And for those things, there is no path. Of course, there's things one can do if you go into, I don't know, making movies. Of course, you're going to learn from the best that did their movies, but they're not going to create your idea for you. They're not going to write the script for you. They're not going to record and edit and give your new twist to things. That only you can do, or I can do, or whoever's watching can do. And so there is no advice. There is no step by step. It is, at some point you got to commit, and you just got to go forward knowing that you are paving the way. And if you commit to that long enough, and with passion, and with love, and with discipline, and focus, and all these things that then come along, then perhaps you'll create something great. Perhaps, because it's not guaranteed. But even if you don't, or if you do and no one cares, regardless of what happens, you will know that you did the right thing. At the end of the day, is there anything better to do than the right thing?